Yeah, just speaking from my point of view, it seems like I'm still pretty kind of new to this whole search fund process. And it seems like depending on the size of the business and the seller and their broker kind of relationship, it seems like it can be kind of tricky waters. Um, like it seems like a pretty big percentage of deals could be pretty tricky. I guess, do you kind of agree with that? Like there's not too many smooth sailing deals, I would say, in this world.
Uh, Not unless you're talking to Ankit, and he bought a boat one time in his life, so that was probably smooth sailing. Um,
Yeah.
Jokes aside, it's a tough process, Mackenzie. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's easy. I compare it to finding a wife or a husband, in that it's a process, right? And it's something that's mission critical that you do it right. You're way better off spending time trying and figuring out it's not the right person and backing out. There's going to be many attempts that go nowhere, and that's success because it's part of the process. And it's an extended discussion, negotiation between hopefully two reasonable parties that will consummate something, but quite possibly you figure out that person isn't reasonable and you avert disaster. I would also say this was a negotiation class. So I didn't talk about the time when the guy asked for $5 more on purchase price, or that the first LOI was accepted, or the guy's a 20-year friend of your father or uncle. Some of these things don't have a lot of complexity, right? Or the business that your family's been in for 2 generations that you know like the back of your hand. I'm helping a client now that his family's been in consumer goods for 3 generations. He's buying a break-even consumer goods business with, $250,000 SDE for the seller's taken out. And he's like, I don't even want a quality of earnings really. Just tell me the numbers sniff okay. And let's talk a lot about growth and profitability maximization. Because he's got granddad, his dad's working the deal with him. So there's a lot of easier deals too, Mackenzie. I just think this is the kind of thing you got to suit up for, Like you wouldn't go on the football field without pads because I'm only going to run a couple routes.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. And even on the smaller deals that are a bit more niche, you could say, like the ones maybe with EBITDA around, anywhere between 100,000 to 400,000. Do you think those might have a little bit less competition in some ways because they're smaller, so maybe they're a bit easier? But in this kind of like search fund, 1 million EBITDA to 5 million EBITDA range, is probably a fair amount of volume in terms of interested buyers. So I don't know if that makes sense either, but
I'm actually going to bounce past this to Ankit, who's done some deals in that space, because I think he can answer it and we can kind of switch the flow up a bit. What do you
yeah.
think?
About smaller deals versus bigger
The
deals?
competition and also the complexity. Yeah.
Honestly, it seems almost the same because I started with smaller deals and you have way less to work with. Yeah, it does seem very similar. So the 2 or 3 small deals that I did, I use the same due diligence techniques. You're gonna go around asking. For example, when I was buying a cooking school, I would talk to a bunch of parents, and I would see like, hey, is this something that's worth it? And their faces glue up. They're like, oh my God, summertime, there's just no classes left for kids. You should buy it immediately. All these little things that I had to do for the cooking school, I had to do for a large hotel or a manufacturing company that we were looking at. It was all very similar. The only advantage of going for bigger deals is that you actually have maybe investors or people that have transacted on those deals that can help you, especially with larger hotel deals. Like when I talk to other people in real estate, they can point out things about the building that I would never know. I was like, I didn't know anything about elevators, and this one investor's like, yeah, this thing, if the building shut down for too long, the elevator's screwed, and you're gonna have to put another 100,000 in. I'm like, oh, thank you. So yeah, same type of work. I almost feel like I wasted too much time doing small deals. So yeah, that's my opinion on that.
Thanks a lot.
Mackenzie, the other thing I would say is different is your bet's different. So if you're doing $100,000 deal, you're probably betting $200,000 at close and an earn out. So like if you totally screw it up, that's not financial ruin. If you do a $3 million deal and it's an air ball, then you're betting more, but the upside's more.
Mhm.
So I think it's just a different bet. The other thing is that I think you're betting on a different set of things. So what you heard Anka say is I need to go talk to the mothers that put the kids in the school to see what they think about it. That's my diligence, right? Whereas on $1 million deal, I'm working with some of you guys, like it's detailed financial analysis, it's working capital pegs, it's earnouts, it's all this other stuff that's also important. In a smaller deal, you're probably also betting on the seller and their client relationships and how much of that they're going to help you transition. So I think people assume smaller is easier, and I don't think it holds true. I just think it's a smaller bet.
Mhm.
I would agree with that. I felt way more comfortable with the first deal because I was like, oh well, altogether financially we won't be ruined, and yeah, that it does feel nicer.